to the new episode of WeaselWood ShopImprovement. In this episode we go ahead and start with our RouterTable Mk2. As you have seen on the last Weasel news, or one of the last Weasel news, I bought a router lift and a new router for the table, and I go ahead and adapt this for the new router lift and make a few other tweaks and changes to this. First of all, I want to double up the depth of the thickness of the plate itself to give it more rigidity. I keep this plate and just glue on another one. Should be sufficient for my uses. Then we have to make the cutout a bit bigger to fit the router lift itself. And I also want to mill in a few slots for these T-nut welds for a new fence design and some other accessories that you can use with this. The fence will be another video. I have a few ideas how I want to make them, and have already ordered some materials that will be arrived soon, I hope, and we'll see how this works out. But for now, we adapt our plate here, and we have a bit to do, I guess. So let's get started. So I looked at it, I thought about it, and I changed my mind. So my original plan was to keep the plate that I already had on here and just make it thicker and adapt the cutout for the new router lift. But I also want to have some T-slot rails here for the fence and some other mounting things that I want to have here. And this would interfere with the holes for the cupcakes that I made in the version 1. So I decided to go ahead and make a completely new one plate. Shouldn't be that big of a problem. So yeah, we go ahead as I talked earlier. So I glue them two plates together to get it more rigid and more solid. For this I have to cut out the edges of the plate underneath that this will not interfere with the mounting angles of the table itself. And then we can go ahead and make the cutout for the router lift. Now that we have our two plates that we need here, we have to center this one and then glue them two parts together. So now, before I put my glue on, I want to drill a hole here in the center to get one of my festal clamps for my MFT table, stick it through there and give it some pressure in the middle as we clamp them two parts together. So this way we can clamp it in the middle section as well and give it some pressure to get a solid glue joint. So now let's apply a healthy amount of glue and put them two parts together. start with the cutout. So, I already prepared everything that I need to make the cutout, or in first place I need to make the fold where the router lift sits in. For that I need a total size of 307 by 220 millimeters. So I use my MFS for this with my router with a template guide. And the way you calculate your setting of the MFS is you take your final measurement, add the diameter of the template guide, in this case 30 millimeters, and subtract the diameter of the router bit itself. Here we have a 12 millimeter router bit, so altogether I add 18 millimeters to my final measurement. So in this case, what did I say? 307 plus 18 and 230 plus 18. So now I want my cutout for the router lift itself sit directly in the middle of this plate, so I have to ensure everything is parallel. So now our template is perfectly centered. I adjust the depth of my router bit itself. So I set it plain to the workpiece. Then I go to my depth scale here and add the 11 millimeters that we need here on this scale. So it always ensures that we have the 11 millimeters that we need of our depth. It's not that accurate because we have the ability with this router lift to align it with the plate afterwards with some adjustment screws. So now I use my guides here to keep the router itself from wiggling around, and also you can get this, I don't know how this thing is called, but you hook it into your template gate, and it ensures that the router will keep flat with the surface. It's the same height than this one and moves along with the router, and it keeps the router from flipping over the whole setup. So now let me attach my vacuum and we start with the routing. Perfect. So the fold is made for the router lift. Now let me rearrange the MFS and I make the cutout to all the two plates for the router lift underneath. let's have a look how the water lift fits inside this plate. Perfect. Now it's a bit underneath the surface, but you have here your adjustment screws. You align it exactly with the plate and then screw it down with the 4 main screws, and this thing will never move again. Never even think about moving. So now next I want to mill out some T-slots here. So let's prepare for this and come back later. So, next part is to mill out the slots, or wire out the slots. To mill the slots I again use my MFS. I don't have a 17mm water bit, so I make a bit of a trick. I set the MFS to the maximum length and a width that is appropriate to mill out a 17mm slot with my 12mm water bit. So again, I take my 17mm that my final cutout should have, add the 30mm for the template guide and subtract the 12mm for the drill bit. So we actually get to 35mm of width that we have to set the template to, and should be good to go. Now let me rearrange my MFS and so, now that's perfect, the slot. Now I have to slide this thing over to mill the rest of the slot here. And now I could unclamp it and slip it over and realign it, and that wouldn't work, let me tell you. So I go ahead, take a piece of straight scrap wood, clamp it on here. Now I push this scrap wood against the template and now I have a straight line to slide this thing over without destroying my measurements. So, now in this way, the template should be perfectly in line with the slot we already routed out, theoretically. So now let's see if this works and finish our slot here. Perfect! So the first slot is perfect. Now let me repeat the 2 other slots. I will do this off camera and then we can go ahead and drill the holes to put our water lift in place. So the slots are milled, worked out pretty well. Next part, we have to drill the holes for the water lift itself to mount it. And I have this sheet metal frame here, which goes underneath the water lift plate to give the set screws to adjust the height a nice solid ground to sit on. Otherwise they would dig into the wood and would not work as they're supposed to. So with this underneath you have a nice solid piece of metal underneath and no worries whatsoever. And also, next benefit, you can use this as a drilling template for the 4 holes for the water lift itself. It's exactly the same old pattern that the water lift have, and will serve the purpose. So I go ahead and center this thing in the cutout. It's slightly smaller, which it should be, and I clamp it down and mark me the 4 positions, and then I go over to my drill press and drill the 4 holes that they're actually as straight as possible. So the positions are marked. I'll go over to my drill press and drill the 4 holes. Kinda handy. It's almost exactly enough clearance to drill the holes. Very nice. Like somebody had planned this. So another few holes that we have to drill are the 4 mounting points to mount the plate on the table itself. So now bring the table over.